What's going on, future millionaires? And I always say this every video because I truly believe that crypto can make you a millionaire, if not a multi-millionaire. It's just going to happen at different times in our investing journeys. But today, what I want to talk about is what is going on with the crypto market. Why are things trying to recover? And I also want to talk about the truth about what's coming in the near future. Now, this video isn't to scare anyone, but it's just to make us aware so when things do happen, we are already ready to go. So before we dive into today's video, I want to briefly talk to you about one of the partners on the channel, which is 𝗖𝗢𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏, and they just added a new cryptocurrency to the platform, which is Axie Infinity, one of the top metaverse projects in the space today. Now, if you're unfamiliar with 𝗖𝗢𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, this is a platform who offers IRAs where you can purchase cryptocurrency as well as precious metals completely tax-free, and you can use this 24/7, 365, and there's also no monthly fee as well. They also have institutional grade crypto custody, as in Coinbase custody, as well as Fireblocks. And as for the cryptocurrencies that we can purchase on 𝗖𝗢𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and sell, you can see pretty much the top players in the space today. Now, Axie Infinity isn't on this list yet, but you heard it here from me that you can actually buy it inside of your 𝗖𝗢𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 portfolio. And so if you haven't used 𝗖𝗢𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 yet, you can actually gain $100 free when signing up using the link down below. But now that we got the intro out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the cryptocurrency market cap right after this. Welcome back to the channel, future millionaires. We are on CoinGecko here, and if we look just briefly at the market cap, right around 1.8 trillion, and we are up currently at the time of this video at 1.6%. Now, one thing that has definitely increased is the Bitcoin dominance, which is 39.4%, which is another reason why you can see Bitcoin is starting to move up. Now, this is just the 90-day chart. Now, just remember, if we go back to November, that's when Bitcoin hit its all-time high around 69,000, and the crypto market hit its all-time high at 3.1 trillion for the market cap. Now, you can see this has just been a downcline since then, and you can see we hit a low right around here, and then right around January 25th or 26th, I believe, is when the Fed Jerome Powell made the statement basically stating, hey, we are not going to raise interest rates until around March. And so this is why the market has responded the way it has over the past few days, pretty much being in the green. Now, if we just go over and look at the top 10, you can see Bitcoin here is at 39.6. Now, it did hit 39,000, that resistance, and then pulled right back. So it does have to reach over that 39,000. Then it has to reach 40,000, and then you have other resistance levels as well. And so the question is, will Bitcoin, during this little peak that we're seeing, will Bitcoin go back to the current all-time high, and will it actually surpass it? Current all-time high, as I mentioned, is 69,000, and as you can see, we are currently around 38.6, so right under that 39,000. So we pretty much have 30,000 from the current all-time high based off of just price measures. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, we've already talked about why the market is recovering a little bit is because of the Fed said they're not going to raise rates at this time until March. I put out a video a couple weeks ago stating, hey, be mindful, if the Fed does raise interest rates, the market will respond and we will see things go to the downside. But let's go into a couple different articles just to kind of break down the Fed and just to let you know where we are with those two things, interest rates as well as the Fed tapering the balance sheet, which is pretty much less liquidity going into the stock market, bonds, the mortgages, as well as crypto. Let's check it out. So according to CoinDesk, this came out January 26th. Now, the US Federal Reserve said it will hold interest rates near zero, and that is actually between 0% and 0.25%. The last time I looked, it was actually 0.25%. So basically a quarter of a full percentage, all right? And so as we can see, the Fed also released a separate statement announcing it intends to significantly reduce the size of its balance sheet in a predictable manner after rate hike starts. So right there, that lets us know this is going to happen simultaneously. And this is why I've mentioned it in previous videos. We want to be mindful of interest rates, and we want to be mindful of the Fed tapering, because this is going to happen around the same time, which is definitely going to have an effect, on the market. So as we go ahead and move down here a little bit, we can see the last section I want to cover on this article. Now, there's a substantial amount of shrinking in the balance sheet that needs to be done. So he's telling you right here, he's telling us that, hey, we are going to be shrinking assets off of the balance sheet, and look how much they increase in a short matter of time. The Fed's emergency monetary stimulus has swollen its balance sheet from about 8.9 trillion from only 4.1 trillion in early 2020, which is when we seen the pandemic that changed the world forever. And so I want to show you something else here. You can see published 20 hours ago, Fed expected to raise rates 7 times this year to fight inflation, right? And so I just want to highlight a couple parts here for you. Bank of America economists expect the Federal Reserve to hike interest rates at meeting for the remainder of the year as the central bank policy makers look to tackle hottest inflation in nearly 4 decades. Now, Ethan Harris says projected 7.25 percentage point rate increases in 2022, putting the target range between 2.7% and 3% by the end of the year. And if you remember, if we go back to what the current rates are, let's move up a little bit. The current rate is between 0% and 0.25%. So if he is correct, we could see rates being anywhere from 2.75 to 3%, which is definitely a huge increase compared to where we had been. And also, the Fed mentioned they are seriously behind the curve, and this should affect the economy with a lag weighing on the 2023 growth, which will be next year. Now, the last thing I want to show you here, with inflation well above 2% and a strong labor market, the committee expects it will soon be appropriate to raise the target range for federal funds rate. Now, the Fed said in a post-meeting statement, the central bank's next meeting is scheduled for March 15th and the 16th, because the Fed typically speaks Tuesday and Wednesday typically, and it has 6 more meetings in May, June, July, September, November, and December. And typically these meetings change the narrative of how the markets are going to move, and this is stock as well as crypto. And so this is why it is so important. And so as we move over to exactly, if we look at the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, look at the recent balance sheet trends here. You can see, if we go back, this was back here in 2008, and if you look here, we move up to 2.2 trillion, slowly, gradually moving. And you can see we had a nice upcrease here. We stayed about the same, pulled back a little bit, and then you can see when the pandemic came and hit the world, this is when the liquidity started, the quantitative easing, when they started adding liquidity to the markets, buying back assets and all of that crazy stuff. And you can see this is the result of that. We pretty much doubled what we had on the balance sheet in a matter of 2 years, or less than 2 years, I should say. So after looking at the total balance sheet for the Fed, these are the 2 things that we want to be mindful of. Number 1, interest rates, and number 2, the Fed tapering, which is going to mean they're going to shrink assets on the balance sheet, and they're also going to put less liquidity in the asset markets, which is going to affect the bonds, the mortgage, stocks, crypto, all of that, real estate, all of that's going to be affected when they start tapering the assets on the balance sheet. And these are the 2 things I want us to be mindful of, because as soon as we go to forget about it, boom, that's when it hits, and we're like, dang, they did mention this 6 months ago, 3 months ago. And this is how they get you. They put the narrative out there, they pump things up, and then people jump out the window and then they pull back. So I just want you guys to be mindful. Now, for my optimistic look on Bitcoin, I think the highest it can get during this little cycle here, 30 to 45 days, extending it out, I think the highest we can get is maybe 75,000 on an optimistic outlook. And the reason why I say that, I don't think we have enough, and I don't think we have enough time in the tank based off of what's coming for us to reach that 100K. Just my personal opinion. I think we need a lot more to really push us past that 100K. So once again, on the optimistic side, the highest I could see Bitcoin going is 75K. However, there's a lot of mud that the crypto market and Bitcoin has to go through just to retest to 69,000. As I mentioned, we are around 30K from just price point to reaching the current all-time high. Now, yes, things can blow up extremely fast. However, I don't think that's just going to happen and go completely bananas. Just my opinion. Now, on the conservative side, I think that Bitcoin at the highest may go to a mid 55 and kind of trade sideways a little bit and start to pull back. So mid 50s, low 50s, trade sideways a little bit and start to pull back. That's on the conservative side. So just my opinion, and this is talking about the next 30 to 45 days, and if you want to potentially stretch it to 60 days, which will put us like towards the end of March, give or take. And so that is my outlook. Optimistic, maybe 75K, conservative, 50 to 55K during this little time cycle. Just my opinion, but overall, truth of what's coming in the near future, we are going to see some type of crash in the markets. This is crypto, this is stock, this is all of it. And so I just want you guys to be aware. If you look at all of the narratives that's been painted, make your money, but also be mindful and keep some capital on the side, so that way you can take advantage when these things happen unexpectedly, because you can never time the market up or down, but one thing you can do is be prepared when things fall. And so if you gain some value from this video, most importantly, definitely smash the like button. And if you haven't checked out 𝗖𝗔𝗘, definitely check them out. This is the time that you want to be saving on your crypto gain taxes. As we've seen, India just proposed 30% tax, on crypto. And so if you have things in a crypto IRA, depending on which one you use and how you do things, you can actually save on those capital gain taxes. And this is why I partner with 𝗖𝗔𝗘, and this is why I personally use them to save on my wealth in the future. But that is all I got for you. Remember to stay inspired, stay motivated, always invest in yourself, and I'm out.